All right, y'all. So Cyber Week is over. Skynet won. The machines have taken over. So right now, your agency's probably prepping a really fancy report. It's going to have a bunch of beautiful charts, all kinds of, spending on placements, huge ROAS targets. What it won't actually tell you is that for the first time in at least a decade, automated traffic has surpassed human activity on the internet. 51% of all web traffic in 2024 was bots and automated systems. Not half, more than half. This Cyber Monday, humans were in the minority on the internet. So when your agency sends you this report showing the millions and millions and millions of impressions delivered over Cyber Week, roughly half of those impressions were shown to machines. And here's the part that keeps marketing directors up at night. The part nobody really wants to get out and for them to tell their boss. But the fee structures that reward volume inadvertently incentivize fraud over quality. When fraud erupts, everyone points to other places. Agencies know this. They get paid anyway. Today, I'm going to break down with receipts, sources, all the actual data, what your agency actually bought you during Cyber Week 2025. Let's start with who's actually seeing your ads. All right, we're going to break down that 51% non-human traffic because the composition, it matters a lot. In 2025, Imperva put out a bad bot report. They did a huge annual study based on 13 trillion blocked bad bot requests across thousands of different domains. Effectively, here's the breakdown. Human beings, 49%. That's you, that's me, that's real people on the internet buying stuff. 37% were bad bots, up from 32% the year before, making a run. 6th consecutive year of growth. These are malicious data scrapers, account hijackers, click fraudsters, all the people who are in 20 years will be known as AI pioneers. And then 14% good bots. These are search crawlers, monitoring tools, and now the AI training bots. But here is where it gets interesting for advertisers. Double Verify's Fraud Lab found that the general invalid traffic increased 86% in the second half of 2024. Q4 2024 was the first time in history that monthly invalid traffic volumes exceeded 2 billion ad requests. What's driving it? Well, 16% overall come from AI scrapers like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude from Anthropic, Apple Intelligence, Meta's AI crawler, blah, 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 blah. When we look at which AI tools are being used in actual attacks, what they found most of the time was that the bot attacks, 54% of them are AI enabled. 26% are spoofing either Applebot, Claude, or ChatGPT user bots. What this means is your Cyber Week programmatic spend, your impressions were served to maybe 49% actual shopping human beings and 51% bots. Your agency reports on impressions delivered. They got paid on all of them. And now here's kind of the angle that nobody's really talking about. When somebody uses Perplexity, Claude, GPT to research products, these AI tools browse the web on their behalf. They load pages. Those pages have ads. The AI sees your ad. It may or may not click on ads as well, depending on how it's instructed. But the AI does not convert and it does not buy. So you still end up paying for the impression. There is a big crawl to click gap. Cloudflare released data in August 2025 showing the massive imbalance. Anthropic, 38,000 crawls per referral click. OpenAI, 887 crawls per referral click. Perplexity, 194 crawls per referral. That means for every one time Claude sends a user to a website, it crawled 38,000 pages. Each one of those pages potentially triggered display ads, retargeting pixels, conversion tracking, attribution events, none of which represented in any way a human being with intent to purchase. More than 80% of AI crawling is for training or research, and 80%, of the 80% of that crawling, 18% for search, 2% for other user actions. So when ChatGPT crawls at your product pages, which grew by 305% year over year, it's mostly just training the model. It's not actually helping somebody shop at that point. Perplexity. Here's where it gets weird, right? Perplexity launched ads. Their CEO said that, I think he went on a podcast and said that the one reason they're building their own browser is to get data outside the app to better understand you. What are the things you're buying, which hotels you're going to, which restaurants, where are you spending time browsing? Tells us so much more about you. So now we have AI tools that crawl your pages, answer user questions, and sell ads based on data harvested from that content. And when advertisers tried Perplexity's ad platform by October 2025, Perplexity formally stepped back from advertising. Their head of publisher partnerships said they're not taking on any new advertisers. Only 14% of consumers trust AI search results. A lot more than organic search. It's just not enough. The AI advertising model is already failing, but not before brands end up paying for impressions that went nowhere and were shown to a robot. So now we apply all of this to Cyber Week 2025, right? The headlines: 44.2 billion in Cyber 5 spending, 14 billion on Cyber Monday alone, 202 million shoppers, and AI traffic to retail sites was up 805%. It sounds incredible. Your agency will probably quote this bullshit to you. The reality: in-store traffic down 3.6% on Black Friday, Saturday 8.6%, overall 5.3% for the weekend. Neil Saunders of Global Data told Newsweek a lot of this year's increases in volume of sales price had to do with increased prices covering for underlying soft growth volume. Spending grew by 3.1%. By 3.1%. Volume grew by 0.2%. The rest was inflation. Target, for instance, here, same store visits down 2.2% to 9.7 since February of 2025 every month. They are just collapsing. Regional traffic. This wasn't just because of the snowstorms in the Midwest. Midwest, of course, got hit hard, but 3.8% down the Midwest, 3.9 in the Northeast, 4% down in the South, 2.8% down in the West. What did your agency actually buy you, right? So let's say your agency, you gave them $1 million to spend programmatically during Cyber Week. So according to the ANA, only 36 cents, fairly generous, reaches actual consumers once all the SSPs and DSPs take their cuts out. So you've got $360,000 now going to potential impressions. Of them, only 49% could have gone to human. That's $176,400 out of your 1 million that actually targeted human beings. Of those humans, how many were actually shopping versus casually browsing? Your agency's reporting on these millions of impressions. They got paid the full million. You might have reached $176,400 worth of human beings. Maybe. All right, so let's itemize what they actually bought for you, right? Item number one, they got you a great gift. The 51% Terminator audience, right? It's all robots. Item number one. So let's break down what they actually got you for Christmas. Item number one, the Skynet audience. What they tell you is that they delivered millions and millions of impressions, but what you got was about half an audience that was bots and AI crawlers. Item number two, the invalid traffic surge, right? And so what your agency had told you was that they had secured optimized placements across premium inventory. What you really got was a massive amount of invalid traffic, up 86% year over year. with 2 billion plus monthly ad requests to non-humans for the first time ever. And this comes directly out of Double Verify's fraud lab. If you look, item number 3 in your stocking, the AI training tax you're paying, because all of these AI bots are running on the live internet, your ads reached engaged audiences, but 16% of them were just training ChatGPT, ClaudeBot, and Applebot. They're training their models on both your data and your data. And then number 4, you got leaky programmatic ads. What you were told, you got efficient spend across the open web in front of a ton of new consumers. What you actually got was that 64% of every dollar in programmatic gets lost to intermediaries before it actually goes to a consumer. So out of that, you then were able to take 17 cents and effectively target real human consumers. Happy holiday. The 5th thing in your stocking, retail media during a traffic collapse. Agencies love retail media. It is literally the easiest, dumbest sale in the world. First party data, closed loop attribution, peak intent. You pay premium CPMs for repurposed TikTok traffic because their store traffic and their web traffic is falling off of a cliff. Item number 6, the growth illusion. What looked like record-breaking sales growth was actually tariffs and inflation stacked on top of flat growth. Item number 7, the ghost audiences on CTV. What you thought you were getting was premium living room inventory, right? What you got is 18.6% web IVT, 28% mobile IVT, and 17.9% CTV IVT globally. It's exploding. Fraudulent and the fraudulent traffic in this space is absolutely blowing up. And we're actually going to have a special post coming up about the World Cup and how you can protect your brand against it during next year's. What is going to be like basically Ocean's 11 in the ad space. And then item number 8, MFA sites, they're still around. These are brand safe environments that they call them at agencies, and it's absolutely insane. Percent of programmatic spend over cyber, 21% of programmatic spend was spent on content farms that are made for advertising. 31% of Cyber Week impressions came from MFA sites. Item 9, the one happy spot that they have vastly underallocated and buried, social commerce. They added social commerce as a way to make their social team happy, make them seem ahead of the curve. But in a lot of cases, it was to kind of balance out the media mix, right? What you really got was social revenue share jumping this year by 54.5% year over year. Influencers converting 6 times better than regular paid media ads. But agencies don't really push it because their margins are a lot lower, honestly, and it's a pain in the ass. It's a lot of work. It's easier for them to be lazy and to spend your money on robots watching TVs running into Walmart. It's crazy. And the craziest part is the fraud tax that all these folks are paying. Industry standard verification is in place. There is an epidemic of ad fraud, specifically in the programmatic space and CTV spaces. It is projected to be around 41.4 billion this year alone. And here's the biggest problem. The uncomfortable truth that nobody really wants to say out loud is that most people in the supply chain kind of know this. Nobody really wants to tell their boss, and your agency is not incentivized to tell you the truth because you wouldn't pay them. Right? Most agencies make 10 to 15% of what they spend. So if they waste $2 million, they make a lot more than if they're efficient with your $500,000. So all of the incentive is for them to be as wasteful with your money as you will possibly tolerate, right? If you look what Spider Labs had to say about this, fee structures that reward volume inadvertently incentivize excessive scale over verifiable quality. When agencies rotate multiple subcontracted trading desks, accountability fragments, then fraud erupts, and everyone points the finger at somebody else. Right? The CMO Council actually found that 72% of CMOs face pressure from their bosses to figure out the trust issues between brands, agencies, publishers, and customers. This is from Digiday, right? Think about it. The CMO is being pressured by their bosses, the CEO and the board. The marketing director is being pressured by the CMO. The media buyer is being pressured on down, right? Nobody wants to really walk into the C-suite and say, hey, like that $2 million we spent over Cyber Week, like half of that money went to robots and AI crawlers. And like they're just using our ad budget to train their language models. 64% of our programmatic spend never actually went to buy an ad or reached a consumer. And traffic this year was way down at all of the retailers where we bought premium inventory. That's a career limiting conversation you're going to have there. Dead. Everybody just reports bullshit vanity metrics. Impressions, 47 million. They were blowing up. Who cares if it's bots? Reach, 12 million. Only half of them were humans. ROAS, 4.2. Our attribution is hopelessly broken. Spend on target, even though we wasted 64% of it. It's verification theater, right? Or it's attribution theater. What's really frustrating? Tag certification says sub 1% fraud. Vendors report 1 to 3% IVT. Every independent researcher finds 20 to 30% minimum. Why the gap? Well, Forbes, they ran a made for advertising operation for 7 years while being tag certified. The verification industry, much like the mortgage industry used to do, they grade their own homework. Makes it easy. So what should you do now, right? Cyber Week's over. You can't go back and unspend all that money. But before your agency sends you over the victory lap report and re-up for next year and high fives and champagne, here's how to actually understand what happens and what comes next. Ask the bot question, number 1. Before accepting any impression or reach metrics, what percentage of these impressions were verified to be human? If they cite tag certification or some IVT rate under 3% pushback, it's hot bullshit. Ask for third-party verification. Ask about the 51% imperva finding. Ask about the 86% invalid traffic surge. Watch them squirm. They know about these things. They just don't want to talk about them. Your ads were served to GPTBot, ClaudeBot, Meta AI crawler, and dozens of others. Ask, what portion of our impressions went to known AI crawlers? Are we paying to train someone else's AI model? If they don't have the data for this, they're not actually set up to measure. They should know exactly what percentage went to bot. If they take, if you look across your Cyber Week spend, right? And you look at the leakage that you get from all of the feeds from DSPs and SSPs, right? Where 64% gets of your total spend gets lost in fees and fee structures. Couple that with 51% non-human traffic, right? You're out of $1 million, you're maybe putting $1,000 toward actual human beings. Ask your agency if it's accurate. Prove it's not. Ask them to prove that is not accurate because they can't do it. So for every retail media dollar spent here, this is also what was the traffic year over year, both web and in-store? How much of CPMs changed over that same period while traffic was going down? And what would have happened with zero retail media spend? If they can't really answer, they're guessing. But in most cases, pausing all of your retail media spend will have almost 0% impact on your bottom line sales. This has been proven time and time again. There's almost no incrementality to it. These are simply just lazy placements, lazy feel-good placements for agencies to buy, and they're not worth it. Cyber Week 2025 data shows social commerce has been exploding, up 54% year over year. Influencer conversions are at 6 times the social standard for ads. In-store traffic down 5.3, and retail media somehow mega increases on these premium prices despite declining audience. The math is kind of obvious here, and your budget likely was not allocated accordingly. So you need to change your compensation model with your agency. If you're currently paying for performance branding, stop paying them on a percentage of your spend. Only pay for verified human impressions. You should also pay for incremental lift, prove it via holdout tests, right? Actual business outcomes should be the goal of every campaign. And agencies need to maintain a fraud rate below an applicable threshold with penalties if it gets exceeded. If your agency is unwilling to accept performance-based comp in this way, ask yourself why. So here's your Cyber Week 2025 receipt. Of the headlines, $44.2 billion in online spending, $14.25 billion in Cyber Monday record spending, and record shoppers with 202 million shoppers on Cyber Monday. The reality is 51% of web traffic was non-human. 86% increase in invalid traffic too, with 16% coming from AI scrapers. 37% of all traffic was from bad bots. Only 36 cents of any dollar reached the consumer via programmatic. In-store traffic down 5.3%, volume flat. Spend up, but because of tariffs and inflation. $41.4 billion in projected ad fraud for 2025. Your agency is about to send you a report showing you record impressions, strong ROAS, and all of it tied to sales goals. Ask them one question. How much of what you bought me was human? How much of it would have happened anyway? If they can't answer with verified human reach and any sort of incrementality data, they're not worth keeping. If they quote the same headlines everyone else is quoting, if they get defensive about the bot question, if they can't explain the supply chain math, kind of know what to do, right? And look, I get it. It's a hard conversation to have, but $41.4 billion in fraud isn't going to fix itself. The 51% non-human internet doesn't get any better by marketers ignoring it. Somebody might have to see something and say something. It might as well be you inside your industry. And if you need help auditing your results and your agency's report, please reach out to us. We're here for you.